everybody. Dawn of Dusk here. I am doing my first complete vlog. I tested video last week and was very happy with the VIRB Elite picture. Ordered the audio dongle for the camera, and I am now testing out the audio. And I did a lot of research while waiting for the dongle to come on YouTube, mostly trying to see what the audio sounded like with the VIRB Elite, but I actually found very little. The audio that I did find was actually pretty discouraging. Seemed as though the mic overmodulated, didn't handle noise well. The mic I'm using is a Audio Technica 3350, which by all accounts is actually a good mic. So it seemed as though the problem was not in the mic, but instead was in the camera itself, in the software. So the few vloggers that I did find using Garmin VIRB Elites did not offer me much encouragement. So the dongle came yesterday, connected it to the camera, and I kind of did a little bit of a test around the house, and it actually sounded terrific. So I started to wonder, is the problem with motovlogging audio in general the inclination to kind of try to speak over the bike? And how do we know if we're doing that? Now, it seems to make sense that if we are yelling into a mic that's only a couple of inches in front of our mouth, we're going to get a lot of noise. So what I'm trying to do is experiment with volume. Right now I think I'm talking at a fairly moderate volume, but it's it's kind of hard to hear yourself on a bike. And so if this works out and the audio is acceptable, a vlogger is born. And this is something I've wanted to do for a long time. I have been a big fan and a follower of all of the greats. I am subscribed to probably about 35 different motorcycle vloggers. And it's kind of strange how you seem to develop you develop an affinity for people that you don't know. You really feel as though they become your friends. You get to know them. And I always had a desire to reciprocate, to do it myself. I've been a sport bike guy. I just got rid of my R6 about 2 years ago. Came over to this Harley Road King, 99 Harley Road King. And when I first bought, well, wasn't when I first bought the sport bike. When the Garmin Hero first came out, I bought it, but as you may know, the Garmin Hero, the original Garmin Hero, did not have an external mic jack. So woe is me. Here I am buying this camera with the intention of vlogging, and there would be no audio. So I went on YouTube to find a solution, and I found a short video of a guy doing a tutorial on how to modify the original GoPro Hero, modify the internal microphone using a couple of extension wires and a soldering gun, modifying it to an external jack. And this is when I found out that I am a really crappy solderer, because I fried the board of the GoPro and wound up throwing it in the garbage. And quite some time passed before I bought this Garmin VIRB Elite, which I'm actually loving. I think it's a terrific camera. You know, it's so hard to gauge. It's so hard to gauge these things with YouTube because, you know, I guess it has to do with the way things are rendered. And different settings that are used, but wasn't impressed by what I saw on YouTube videos that was shot with the Garmin Elite. But I also wasn't prepared to go out and spend $499 on a GoPro Hero Black, GoPro Hero 4 Black Edition. So I had to ask myself, well, the Garmin is about half the price. Is it half the picture? And the answer to that was a resounding no. Now, occasionally I would come across a VIRB Elite video that seemed to be shot in just the right settings, where I felt it was just about comparable to the GoPro. If anything, the biggest difference I noticed was that the Garmin seems to oversaturate a bit. Colors tend to be a little bit too rich. But I certainly couldn't justify spending twice the money, $500, for that reason alone. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on the Garmin VIRB Elite. And I then started researching external mics. And I settled on the Audio-Technica 3350. After not only reading rave reviews about it, but actually listening to some motovloggers using the mic, and it was actually fairly impressive. The problem was I could not find the combination of the Audio Technica with the VIRB Elite. And then came the other problem. I'm a big fan of a motovlogger who will remain nameless, but he's a fairly popular and highly prolific personality. And he was one of the original VIRB Elite users. And about a month ago, he posted a video and one of the things he mentioned was that during a firmware upgrade, a recent firmware upgrade, Garmin seemed to totally ruin the audio capability of the camera. And he posted a little example, and it was just horrific. I mean, the overmodulation was just absolutely through the roof. It was inaudible. And that was really discouraging. So my dongle came yesterday in the mail, and I did a little test around the house, installed it into the camera. Well, the first thing about the Audio Technica is it comes with a 20-foot cord. And for a motovlogger, trying to get a mic into a helmet, this presents a serious challenge. I also have a modular helmet, which doesn't help, but I was able to actually stuff all 25 feet, a couple of inches at a time, some of it between the shell and the padding, some of it into the cheek pad, but I did manage to get the entire thing into the helmet. And then there's a little power module that these things have, an on-off switch, which I left on the back of the helmet secured with some Velcro. So I did manage to get that part done. So when the dongle came yesterday, I hooked it up to the camera, hooked it up to the microphone, put the helmet on, kind of walked around the house. And the sound was, just terrific. I was pleasantly surprised. No overmodulation, no distortion. It was clear. However, walking around in your living room does not a motovlog make. So today is the real test. Today is the day that I get out on the road with the wind, with the noise of the bike, with the vibration, and sort of really test this combination. And I am hoping that this does it. The option would be I have an Android phone. Android does make an app that records in Bluetooth. So because I have a helmet with a built-in Bluetooth, I could record directly to the device. And I did run some test audio on that, and it was actually pretty decent. The problem is that now in post-production you have to sync the audio to the video, and that's not really something I wanted to do. If there's one fault with the Garmin VIRB Elite, it's that I do notice the video tends to get ahead of the GPS coordinates. So that's something that I find I have to sync frequently. So I didn't want to have to, on top of that, sync audio to video. It just didn't seem like fun. So my hope, and at this point it's not much more than a hope, is that when I do extract this from the camera, if nothing else, the audio is acceptable. I'm trying not to yell, I'm trying to talk at a moderate tone, and I could experiment. I mean, this is a little bit quieter. And the fear, I think, is always that if I speak at this level, I won't be heard. I could barely hear myself over the bike and the wind and that sort of thing. But for all I know, maybe that's not the case. Maybe it sounds better at this level, and this is the purpose of this this video, is to try to figure out what's working well. It's also kind of a rainy, foggy sort of a morning, so I'm having to keep my shield vented open a little bit to prevent it from fogging, and I'm sure that isn't helping. Under ideal conditions, I would keep the visor down as much as possible. And so with any luck, guys, with any luck, my audio will be as good as my picture and a vlogger is born. Am I coming onto the scene late? I sure am. Will I be as good as those who have inspired me? I seriously doubt it. Pretty mundane life. My vlogs might be quite boring, but I will give it a shot. And if nothing else, you know what? Here's the thing. For me, this is not about views or subscribers. It's really not. I have two uncles, one of which, when he came back from Vietnam, spent a lot of time on a bike. They traveled quite a bit. And you know, it occurred to me that for them today, the memories only play in the theater of the mind. This gives me the opportunity to chronicle my rides, and we're planning some epic rides. I'm planning. I live in Central Florida. We're planning on a ride to Yellowstone. We're going to be doing some Georgia trips soon. So there's a lot of things coming up. And I want to be able to look back at those and say, yeah, you know, I remember this, and not only be able to see, but be able to hear what I was experiencing at the time. And that's the real purpose. Wow. Take your time. There's not a motorcycle behind you. They are the absolute worst drivers on earth here in Florida. It's sad. Well, I'm at work, guys, so we're going to find out if this worked or not. Bye-bye.